I'm willing to bet that someone has told you that you need to be consistent on social media in order to grow. That person might have even been me, like who knows? The point is, we are often told that we need to be consistent on social media in order for us to see any sort of success. However, we rarely talk about how we can actually be consistent. Instead, we just know that we need to be consistent, but no one's really telling us how to get to that point, right? That is where I come in. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 hacks to help you remain consistent on social media. If you enjoy content like this, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and maybe even turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss out on my new videos. Let's get straight to the hacks. Okay, so in order for me to break down my first hack, I first need to differentiate between frequency and consistency because these two words are often confused when we're talking about consistency on social media. Frequency literally just means how often you choose to show up on social media, how often you choose to share an Instagram post or a story, how often you choose to share a YouTube video, etc., etc. Consistency is you sticking to that frequency. Okay, consistency is where it's at. Any of us can sit down and say that we're going to show up on social media every single day. But if we don't actually stick to that and remain consistent, then frequency means nothing, right? The hack here is a really simple one, but a lot of us don't do it. The hack is to pick a frequency that we can actually stick to because that is how we're able to be consistent. Now, the mistake that a lot of us make is we look into how to grow on social media and we clearly see that the more content we share, the more likely we are to grow. And that's true for a lot of platforms. On Instagram, the ideal posting frequency is daily. On TikTok, the ideal posting frequency is like 5 times a day. YouTube can vary, but overall, you're normally recommended to share between 1 to 3 YouTube videos a day, and that's the long form videos, right? So what often happens is that we hear that those are the optimum posting frequencies, and we decide that that is therefore going to be our posting frequency without stopping and thinking, wait a minute, can I post every single day on Instagram? Can I share 5 TikToks a day? Like, does that work with my lifestyle, right? Maybe you have a really intense job. Maybe you have a family who you're looking after. Maybe you travel to parts of the world that don't have internet very often. When you're picking a posting frequency for any social media platform, you first need to think about your lifestyle and then you want to think about what the optimum posting frequency is. For example, I now have 2 Instagram channels that myself and my team manage. There's my main one, Jade Beason, and then there's one for a separate company I'm just building right now called the Creator Project, right? So my posting frequency for my account is 3 to 5 times per week because that is what works in my schedule. That is how many pieces of content I know I can create and share regularly, right? The optimum posting frequency is 7 times per week. However, that does not work for me. So I've decided to post 3 to 5 times per week because it's better to be consistent with a smaller schedule than to be completely inconsistent with a bigger schedule. On the other hand, the Creator Project is managed by myself and my team, which means that we can actually post more because it's not just me creating the content. So for that channel, I post 6 to 7 times per week because that is what works for that channel, right? This is where I want you to get to. This is what the hack is. Make sure that you pick a posting frequency that works with your lifestyle because that is how you're able to be consistent. All right, so my next hack is to get an accountability partner. This is a really good one and I've seen quite a few people I've worked with do something similar and it has done absolute wonders for them. So how this basically works is you partner up with a few different people who are trying to become consistent on social media. It works best if you are on similar social media channels and if you have similar posting frequencies. They don't have to be exactly the same, but it will be a lot easier for you to manage if you partner up with someone who has a similar social media strategy to you, right? So you find one or maybe a handful of people who are similar to you. You create a WhatsApp group or like any group. You know, recently I learned that WhatsApp is like not that big in other countries. Like in America, apparently you guys don't use WhatsApp that much, whereas in England, it's literally all we use. So whatever messaging platform works for you, maybe it's just like an Instagram group message, like whatever. Find a platform which allows you to create a messaging group. And then you want to have specific times of the day where you are checking in with each other to see if you've posted, right? So what you want to do is say, okay, every evening, you don't have to be really specific. You can just say in the evening after dinner, we're going to share a link to the post that we shared that day, right? Now, what this does is it creates accountability because now you actually have a specific time of day where you need to check in with the rest of your group and reassure them that you have stuck to your posting schedule. It's the same principle of having like a workout buddy. Like if you decided to go to the gym with someone at 8 a.m., you're a lot more likely to actually show up versus if you just told yourself that you're going to go to the gym at 8 a.m. At least I am, right? Having someone else who's in the loop and having someone else who is going to be looking out for your message to see if you've posted that day will massively help you remain accountable and also help you with your consistency. I'm interrupting this this video to tell you very quickly about a new project I'm working on that I think you guys are going to love. It's called The Creator Project, and it's a community and content platform that is dedicated to sharing free resources with you guys that is going to help you get paid. So we have social media channels, we have podcasts where we interview creators, business owners, influencer agencies, and we have a weekly newsletter where I answer your questions and I share creator opportunities to, again, help you guys get paid. So I'm going to include links to everything below. I really recommend that you check it out. All right, so my next hack is to have backup content. This one is an absolute lifesaver, right? So what we want to do to utilize this hack is figure out a type of content that we can create really easily and in a big batch. So let me give you some real life examples that I use. For me, doing sit down talking head videos, specifically ones that are super short. So ones that are only 5 to 10 minutes long, where I'm focusing on one specific hack, for example. Those are very easy for me to batch. They don't take me long to record. I can create 5 or 6 of them in one go and just have them on the back burner in my content library, right? On Instagram, it's these types of reels. So these are reels where I'm using video footage from random parts of my life that are somewhat aesthetically pleasing, and I'm overlaying some valuable content on top. So I'm writing something valuable and useful for my audience, and I'm putting that on top of the footage. I could create those reels like that. It takes me 5 to 10 minutes to create those reels. I can create them super quickly and I can batch them super quickly. So those are 2 examples from 2 completely different social media channels. What you want to do is figure out what type of content is easy and quick for you to create. And the reason why is because once you've figured out what that content is, you can batch a big chunk of that content and have it there ready in case of an emergency. And if you're wondering what on earth is an emergency in a social media world, an emergency is a time where you're like, oh my God, I was supposed to film yesterday and I didn't get round to it because life got in the way. You're totally fine because you've got a bunch of reels or a bunch of TikToks or whatever it is already created, already saved in your drafts that you can just share at a moment's notice. One of the most important things to think about when it comes to this hack is to make sure whatever you're creating is evergreen. And what that essentially means is that whatever you're talking about is relevant for now and into the future. So it doesn't work for you to batch create a bunch of content all about Christmas, because realistically, if you have an emergency in May and you need to use your backup content, that Christmas content just isn't going to work, right? So think about content that is evergreen. So my next hack for consistency on social media is to make content creation feel easy. This is a broader hack that's going to genuinely change how you approach content creation, like as a whole. Listen to me, as dramatic as ever, but it's true, right? And what this hack basically involves is every time you sit down to prepare for a filming session, I want you to ask yourself, what would this look like if this was easy? Now, an example might be that you're about to film a talking head reel or TikTok. And that basically means that you're speaking directly to the camera. Like that's the type of content you're about to film. And you might be ready to take out your softbox light, your ring light, and all this different stuff. Maybe you're about to get your fancy camera to film this piece of content. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I don't have time to set everything up. My camera battery isn't charged. My memory stick doesn't have enough space on it. And all of these barriers are coming to light, which are actually going to prevent you from sitting down and filming. When that happens, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what would this look like if this was easy? Because realistically, if that's the type of content that you're about to create, you probably could just film that on your phone. If you've got any remotely recent phone, you can film it using your back camera and in front of some natural light. I'm pointing there because that's where my window is, but you guys don't know that. But you could film that piece of content using the back of your camera phone and with some natural light, and you didn't need any of that fancy gear. And although it might be slightly higher quality if you were to use your fancy camera and your ring light and whatever else, you could still get a high quality video using the easier route. And the result of that is that you actually end up filming your content, versus if you were committing to doing it the harder way, you may not have ended up filming your content at all, right? So there's a time and place for taking out all the bells and whistles. If you feel like doing content creation the hard way is actually stopping you from creating full stop, you need to ask yourself, what would this look like if this was easy? Once you start to do that, you will end up with a lot more content, and that is how you end up becoming more consistent. The easier it is to create content, the easier it is to be consistent on social media. Last but certainly not least, this is my favorite hack, and this is the one that I absolutely swear by. It's called the min-max method. It is completely made up by myself and it is not an official name, but if you're familiar with any of my content, you know that I like to make up names and give names to random things that I do. So this is the min-max method. And essentially what it involves is you setting a minimum posting frequency and a maximum posting frequency. Let me give you a live example. So on YouTube, YouTube, my minimum posting frequency is once per week. My maximum posting frequency is twice per week. Now, this differs from your usual goals and targets because usually you would set out and say, I'm going to post on YouTube twice a week, every single week. And if I do not post twice a week, I failed and I've not hit my goal. Now, because I've created a min-max method, when life gets in the way, because it does, guys, let's not sit here and just assume that life is never going to get in the way and therefore we will always be able to be consistent, because that's just not true. But when life gets in the way, I actually go ahead and I meet my min target, which is 1 post per week, which actually means that if I've only shared 1 YouTube video that week, I don't feel like I've missed my goal. I feel like I've hit my goal, just a different goal. And the reason why this is so important is because when you set yourself really rigid goals, let's say you want to post on Instagram 5 times a week. Now, when life gets in the way and you're not able to share your content 5 times a week, and maybe instead you're posting 3 times a week, what often happens is we start to spiral. Because we've not hit our goal, we're like, well, that's it. The whole strategy is ruined. I'm never going to grow on Instagram. Why am I even doing this? Why am I even trying to run my business through Instagram? Why am I even trying to become a content creator? We tend to let ourselves spiral because we've not hit our goal, forgetting the fact that we've actually shared 3 great pieces of content that week. Instead, we feel really negative about our progress and what we've been doing. Now, if you set a min-max goal and your max goal was 5 times a week and your min goal was 3 times a week, if you only post 3 times a week, you do not leave feeling like a failure. In fact, you feel pretty accomplished because you actually have hit your goal. It's just a different goal to your maximum one, right? So the min-max method is my absolute favorite. If you ever hear anyone say it and refer to it that way, just know that it came from me. Maybe I'll trademark it. No. Who has the time? So those are my main hacks. I am going to leave you with 1 bonus hack. And the reason why I said it's a bonus hack is because I talk about this all the time. So a lot of you guys will already know this hack. One of my biggest hacks for remaining consistent on social media is scheduling out my content. I use a platform called Later, and it basically allows me to schedule my content, for example, on Instagram way in advance, and it will automatically publish to my Instagram account without me having to lift a finger. This video is not sponsored by Later, but I have worked with them a few times in the past. Regardless, I'll put a link to Later below in case you guys want to check it out. All right, guys, if you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. It's all about the recent updates coming to Instagram, and some of them are pretty major, so I really feel like you guys should watch it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, can't wait to see you in my next video.